live on the CFL Report. Week 4 highlights, big finishes, lots of points. BC's James Parker, the comeback kid of '87. And our TSN Game of the Week preview reports on the Stampeders and the Argonauts. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. It is a hot and steamy night on the artificial turf at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. Temperatures near 32 degrees Celsius as we move within half hour of game time right now on TSN. We'll set up the matchup tonight. We've got it, the Calgary Stampeders and the Toronto Argonauts live on TSN. We're live on the sidelines here at Exhibition Stadium for the CFL Report this evening. Let's begin the week with a look at the Western Division standings in Canadian football. It is the BC Lions unbeaten in 3, leading the Eskimos by 2 points. The Eskimos even at 2-2. Saskatchewan slips past Calgary into 3rd spot with a victory over Ottawa last week, and the Stampeders winless in their last 4 in the Western Division basement. In the CFL's Eastern Division, Winnipeg out in front, perfect after 4 games. Ottawa stands 2nd. Toronto slips ahead of the Hamilton Tiger Cats with that victory over Hamilton at Ivor Wynne last weekend. And joining me live on the sidelines, Leif Pedersen. Let's talk about the Argonauts. First of all, they had a big finish against the Hamilton Tiger Cats last week. Is that enough to get this team rolling for Bob Obilovich?
Well, I think it might be. They were sloppy last week, but they got 2 points. They got a win. They desperately needed one, and I think that might carry over into tonight. Gilbert Renfro's had a full week of practice. That helps. Gil Fennerty's back, so I think they might be ready to put a roll together.
And a thought on the Calgary Stampeders and the continuing quarterback controversy they have over Rick Johnson.
Well, the management says it's not a controversy, but you know, I know it is, because some guys in the team will like Johnson, some guys will like Rick Warman. So until things get sorted out, there will be a problem. I'll tell you what, it can be over in a hurry if Rick Warman goes out tonight and has a great game. So you never know.
Warman has won once for the Calgary Stampeders. He is the starter tonight. Right now, let's go to Peter Watt's CFL Notebook, and on page 1 this week, the Rick Johnson story.
Thank you, John. I'm just sitting here thinking about how much difference a year can make. 12 months ago, Rick Johnson was the toast of Calgary, the player who led the football team back from the brink of death to make the playoffs in the CFL's West Division. Now he's on the reserve list, and his football career in Calgary appears to be over. There are a number of factors which have contributed to this downturn in Johnson's career. Off-season shoulder surgery hampered his efforts to throw the ball effectively in training camp. Johnson says the shoulder now is fine, but the fact remains his timing is off and a lot of balls thrown have not been caught. Then there is the matter of protection. The Stampeders have given up 25 quarterback sacks so far this year, most in the CFL. Johnson is a set-up and throw type of quarterback, the kind that is most vulnerable to the rush. The word has been out since midway through last season. Rush Johnson and you can rattle him. Make him throw the ball before he is ready. In contrast, Rick Warman sets up quicker and throws the ball faster. And Warman has also shown the inclination to run whenever he feels he has to. Another factor is the coaching situation. Larry Kuharczyk coaches the quarterbacks, and he and Johnson get along well together. But Ron Smeltz is the offensive coordinator, and he calls the game on the sidelines while Kuharczyk spots from the press box. There appears to have been some disagreements among the coaches last year, and the same problem has flared up again this summer. And when all else is said and done, the Stampeders have lost 4 games in a row, and there is less time to experiment and less patience with players who are struggling. Even though the 4 losses have come against the best teams in the league, Winnipeg, BC, and Edmonton, they still add up to 4 losses. The whole team is under the gun to produce in a city that has shown it will not support a team that does not win. Even though Rick Johnson is the highest paid player in Calgary, the Stampeders have apparently decided he's not good enough to be even the backup to Rick Warman. Carl Fodor will perform that role for the moment. Meanwhile, Johnson sits at home in Calgary waiting for one of 2 things to happen. Either head coach Bob Vespasiani will have a change of heart and try and work Johnson back into the lineup, or the Stampeders will trade or release the man who was their star just a year ago. My, what a difference a year can make. I'm Peter Watts. That's CFL Notebook.
Well said, Peter. It is a critical time for the Calgary Stampeders. They need to win with the Argonauts going back into Calgary next week.
Well, you'd love to get the first win of a back-to-back series, but to take the Rick Johnson thing one step further, he's too good a quarterback to be on the reserve list. He was all-Canadian last year. I'd like to see him back.
And he's at home in Calgary, obviously watching the Stampeders on TSN with you tonight. Right now, we'll take a brief timeout and be back with the highlights of Week 4 in the CFL. Report this week, but we're live from Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. Inside, the Stampeders warm up. They'll be directed by Rick Warman at quarterback tonight as they go against the Toronto Argonauts. The James Parker story also ahead on CFL Report this week. But right now, let's take a look back to Week 4. A couple of surprises and a couple of big finishes to games in Week 4 in Canadian football. Right now, let's take a look. The Ticats look to turn this one into a rout early. Tom Porras with a bomb for Earl Winfield. The play covered 49 yards, and Hamilton built up a quick 24-2 lead on the Argos. This game all but over, right? Wrong, because the Argos come out fired up in the second half. Gil Renfro shook off the cobwebs and tossed a 35-yard strike to Ken Joyner. That cut the Tiger Cats lead to 1, 24-23 after 3 quarters. Hamilton leading by 4, 27-23 with seconds left. Toronto facing 3rd and 9. Renfro came out with his great effort. He scrambled down to the 3 for 15. Time for one last play to complete the comeback. Renfro rolls right and flips the ball to Tony Johns. Johns crashes into the end zone. The Argos win their first of the year 30-27 over the Tiger Cats. On Saturday, a battle for first in the West as Edmonton traveled to BC to take on the Lions. And a new look in the Lion defense as BC activates the former Alouette, Brett Toaster Williams. But it was the Eskimos who got off to a fast start. First play from scrimmage, Matt Dunnigan. A swing pass to Milson Jones. He shakes off Nelson Martin and outruns the rest of the Lions 74 yards to the end zone. The Eskimos up by a touchdown. On to the second quarter, a different story. BC driving. Roy DeWalt spots a wide-open Scott Leckie near the end zone. Leckie trots in for an easy touchdown, giving the Lions a slim 13-10 lead at the half. Early in the third quarter, Jim Sandusky hauls in this Tom Dixon punt right about midfield. Sandusky makes some nice moves and then turns on the afterburners. Sandusky scampering 55 yards for the major. That increased BC's lead to 10 points, 20-10. Lou Pasaglia chipped in with 4 field goals, 14 points on the day as the Lions took over sole possession of top spot in the West with a 26-18 win over Edmonton. Final game of Week 4, the Saskatchewan Roughriders looking for their first win of the season at the expense of their eastern counterparts. The Ottawa Roughriders jumped to a 20-10 lead at the intermission. The big play, a 38-yard interception return by linebacker Kenny Ford. Saskatchewan gets close early in the third as David Conrad takes a handoff and busts up the middle for 21 yards. That made it 20-17. Full marks to the Saskatchewan defense in this one. 4 sacks, 6 interceptions in holding Ottawa to just 276 yards total offense. Dave Ridgway did the rest of the damage, kicking the last 10 points of the game. Saskatchewan puts 1 in the win column with a 27-23 victory over Ottawa. A big win for the Saskatchewan Roughriders as well as the Toronto Argonauts. That makes things interesting in both divisions of the Canadian football heading to Week 5. Right now, let's look back at the stars of Week 4. Thursday night in Calgary, Stampeder quarterback Rick Warman did his best to keep it close. Warman completed 22 passes for 338 yards against an always tough Blue Bomber defense. From Friday's game in Hamilton, Toronto quarterback Gil Renfro rebounding from a 4-18 first half to finish with 14 completions, 253 yards. He also led the Argos in rushing with 44 and drove the Boatmen 67 yards in the final minute for the winning score. Saturday, the Lions held the Eskimos to just 232 yards on offense, and one of the big reasons was the play of linebacker Greg Stuman. The second-year player from southern Arkansas had 2 sacks, 2 tackles, and caused a fumble as the Lions moved into top spot in the West. Finally, from Sunday's game between Saskatchewan and Ottawa, the play of cornerback Harry Skipper typified a fired-up Saskatchewan defense. Skipper all over the field, picking off 2 passes, forcing a fumble, and keeping Ottawa receivers in check throughout the game. And still to come, the Canadian players of Week 4, as well as starters tonight, Gil Renfro, Rick Warman, and the James Parker story. All that and more ahead live on TSN CFL Report. Lake Ontario, as well inside Exhibition Stadium, where the Toronto Argonauts and Stampeders prepare right now the Burlington Marching Band onto the field in the pregame ceremonies. We're about 25 minutes away from kickoff here. A crucial game for the Toronto Argonauts and for the Calgary Stampeders. The Argos won last week. The Stampeders were close, but not quite. Now back to week 4 and the Canadian Players of the Week. The runner-up is Edmonton running back Milson Jones. The 5-year veteran from North Dakota showed his versatility with 8 catches, 148 yards to go along with 2 rushes for 18 more. Jones' total 166 yards, accounting for more than 2/3 of the Eskimo offense. TSN's outstanding Canadian for week 4 goes to Winnipeg nose tackle Stan Mikowas. Mikowas was a one-man gang against Calgary. He registered 9 tackles, had 2 quarterback sacks, and blocked a punt to set up another Bomber touchdown. Winnipeg's Stan Mikowas, TSN's Canadian Player of week 4. BC's James Parker has been the most dominant defensive player in the CFL on 3 occasions. He's on the road back from an off-season injury. And the fact that the unbeaten Lions are off to such a good start has Parker even more anxious to return.
Thanks, John. When you talk about the 1987 BC Lions, perhaps the one man who has been talked about the most is, strangely enough, a man who has yet to play a single down. The man is James Parker. During the offseason, Parker tore up his knee while playing racquetball. Since then, he has been forced to fight a different kind of battle, an individual struggle to recover and rejoin his teammates.
The worst thing that is happening to me now during the season is watching. You know, like I can watch from a distance, you know, but I can't go down and watch it on the sidelines like some of the guys heard go watch it on the sideline. I can't do that. So I'll go to the games, but I can't go on the sideline because then I'll get too involved, and then I think what it'll do is it'll make me rush myself as far as getting ready to play.
To understand what Parker means to the Lions, words are not enough. His talents must be seen to be appreciated.
Hotbagel is forced out of there, tripped up by James Parker. First down from the 39. Dunnigan trying to get away from Parker, and what a job by Parker. To the left. Burgess was hit in the act of throwing by James Parker.
But these days, Parker must be content to work on his other businesses. Ironically, his fitness center is the location of the accident that nearly ended his football career. And then there's the city of Vancouver, which has helped Parker keep his mind off what he cannot do right now. All in all, it has been an education in patience.
Yeah, when it comes to my health and welfare, I think I am. Because if not, I think it'll be detrimental in the long run. If I try to just come back too fast, then I may not be able to play again because it could get hurt even worse than it was before.
Although Parker will be back in the lineup in a couple of months, the injury has given him some insight into what life is like without football and what he can expect when it comes time to leave the game for good.
I think the thing that most guys miss is the camaraderie of having the teammates around, and you sort of have that inside track on having instant friends, so to speak, you know, or you have a number of people that you can pick from to be your friends. And I think that's one of the things that the guys I've talked to who used to play is the thing that they miss the most.
But for now, the only concern Parker has is getting back to what he does best, and that's moving in the fast lane. The truly ironic part of this whole story is the fact that James Parker has been playing organized sports for the last 15 years, and this is the first serious injury.
And that's the last one.
David Pratt with James Parker for the CFL Report. Now back to you, John.
We wish the quick one a speedy recovery in Vancouver. Even though the unbeaten Lions haven't really missed Parker all that much, many times this season, his presence has been missed in the Canadian Football League. Now on to the story of tonight's game. The Argos and the Stampeders here at Exhibition Stadium, and with more on the Stamp story. Here's Teresa Hergert.
I mean, you're going to take
the Calgary Stampeders have done some house cleaning. Rick Johnson, last year's CFL All-Star, won't play against Toronto. In fact, he won't even be there. Johnson's been moved to the reserve list and will watch the game at home in Calgary.
Year before last, he knew I'm number one and, hey, I'm the guy and I'm going to get it done. This year, there's doubt about it because he wasn't able to throw as well and wasn't at the same physical preparation that he had prior, and wasn't, to the Rick of Rick Johnson of 1986. We weren't seeing that here, and I think it's still there, and I think he can still get back to that form, but at this point it's not there.
So Rick Warman will take over. Rookie Carl Fodor will act as backup. Johnson has been noticeably absent from team practices. He was excused because he hasn't been feeling well. Gary Allen will return to the lineup after a game's rest. He's up for this game against Toronto, no matter who's throwing the ball.
I have confidence in all our quarterbacks. I have confidence in our team. I think with Warman or Johnson there, they both can throw the ball exceptionally well, and they could read coverages. I just hope that we can go out here and put it together and play good football.
Another returning player bound to make a difference is Bob Poley. A broken arm has kept him off the field, but a trip to the doctor assured him it's healed enough to put him back in the lineup.
You know, last year I was making the defensive calls and making a lot of blocking calls, and maybe that's what's lacking, and if I can help the team that way and playing, that's what I'll do.
If the Stampeders ever needed to win a game, the time is now. They've got to get back on track and prove that last year was more than just a Cinderella season. They believe they've got the players to do it. Now all they need is just a little bit of luck. That's a look at Calgary for the CFL Report. Now back to John at Exhibition Stadium.
Okay, Teresa, that about sums it up. And the man who gets the start for the Calgary Stampeders tonight, Rick Warman. You had a good game last week, personally, in the comeback that just fell about, what, 7 yards short?
Well, it's unfortunate we got the ball down there and then we ran out of time without any timeouts left. So hopefully this week we don't have to wait till the last minute to get a good drive going, and we can do both run and pass and be successful early on, so they don't have to wait for the last minute.
What about your timing? Do you think it'll be improved tonight as opposed to when you went in relief last week?
Well, preparation and practice is always the most important thing, and last week I got just minimal reps, so this week it's a little bit better, although it was a short week. I think that I'll have a better time with the guys and be on target a little sooner than I did last week.
Do you have to get that long passing game on track a little bit earlier tonight, do you think?
Well, I think that it depends on what the defense plays us. We're the type of offense that we always have someone going deep, and if it's there, we'll take it. If not, you know, we're going to be content with taking the underneath stuff.
Gary Allen, is he going to be a key factor in your offensive strategies tonight?
Well, Gary's a two-dimensional player, returning punts along with playing running back for us, so we're going to try to get the ball in his hands, both out of the backfield and running the ball, and I think it's imperative that he to have a good game for us to be successful tonight.
All right, we wish you success tonight. It's a big one for the Calgary Stampeders.
Sure is. I hope we're pulling out for him.
All right. And now with more on the Toronto Argonauts set up to this game, Mark Jones, who was at the Argo training camp earlier this week.
Thanks, John. What a difference a win makes. The Toronto Argonauts' thrilling comeback win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats did tons for their confidence. The Argonauts can only get better, too, because returning for the Calgary game is their star leading running back, Gil Fenerty.
The thrill is back. His ankle is ready. He'll see a lot of action against a Calgary team that is susceptible to the run.
My goal, you know, as a running back or a receiver, pretty good goal is 100 yards. And, you know, I haven't had that yet, and I'm pretty used to getting that. So I just want to get out there and run the ball and, you know, make some yards.
With getting Gil back into the lineup, I think he'll give us a little extra push in there in that regard. And I think that we just have to do a better job in our short controlled passing game.
The passing game is in the hands of Gilbert Renfro. One of his favorite targets of late is Ken Joyner. Joyner's caught 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games. The Calgary defense poses a special challenge.
Mainly, they got this new nickel defense with the extra defensive back, and it don't really give a problem for us. We just have to find an open area.
Nose tackle Gerald Bayless is out with a pulled hamstring, but the defense is starting to come around.
One thing I've been pleased with our defense and our team as a whole really is we're playing very aggressively and we're making things happen and the guys are hitting hard. We just got to eliminate the mistakes, and that's been kind of haunting us this year at this point in the season.
Both Calgary and Toronto are notoriously slow starters. Seems like it takes them at least until the second quarter to get things cranked up. The Argos feel that with Gil Fenerty back in the lineup, they'll be able to chew up lots of real estate on the ground and be off and running early in the game. Mark Jones for the CFL Report. Now back to John.
Okay, Mark, I think everyone would agree that the Toronto Argonauts need a quicker start this week. How do you look at it, Gil? You made it exciting last week, but it was a little touch and go.
Yes, I would agree that we need a quicker start this week. I don't think that we would need to play like we played last week in the first half, so we're going to try to go out and get a quicker start like Coach says. We're going to try to take up where we left off last week.
take a little of that momentum. Are there any areas that you feel that are exploitable in this Calgary Stampeders secondary in particular?
Not necessarily. I think they have a real strong secondary overall. I think maybe the right side may be a little more vulnerable because they have a new cornerback there. But overall, I think they have a real strong secondary.
All right. As far as the running game goes tonight, does Fennerty get the ball a lot, or are you going to carry a lot?
Hopefully we can just spread it around amongst ourselves. I think that Finney would definitely get the call a lot because he was out last week and we weren't able to get some of the things done that we wanted to, but he definitely adds another dimension to our offense this week.
All right. Well, you go to the inside game early or the outside game? I guess you're going to look at that a little bit, but have you got any thoughts on that?
I think we'll probably experiment with a little bit of both and see how it works out, and whichever is more productive, I think we'll probably go back 2 more.
All right. What are the keys for the Toronto Argonauts offensively tonight?
I think getting an early start, trying to get some points on the board early because I don't think their offense is as strong as probably Hamilton's or some others, and probably try to establish a running game early.
Okay, Gil. Good luck tonight. Good luck to the Toronto Argonauts. Kickoff just about 10 minutes away right now, and coming up on the CFL Report, when we return, we'll put Lee Pedersen on the spot and pick the winners for Week 5.
The CFL on TSN. Every week, the champions of the gridiron run, pass, and kick their way to victory. Big city rivalries, east-west showdowns. Watch the Stampeders battle the Argonauts live from Exhibition Stadium, Wednesday, July 22nd, starting at 7:30 Eastern. It's action only the CFL delivers. CFL blackouts are in effect. Check your local listings.
They're going to be a little bit late for the kickoff, but they'll likely make it on time from Lake Ontario, just outside Exhibition Stadium. A beautiful evening for boating, and it's going to be a fun night for the fans. Inside, the players may feel just a little bit of the temperature tonight. It is plus 31 degrees as we get ready for kickoff. And welcome back to the CFL Report, live on TSN. You had a tough week last week. You go 2 for 2 picking the winners, Leif.
Well, you know, even the Greek has some mistakes every once in a while. I thought it was 4-0, a cinch, but a couple upsets. Toronto beat Hamilton. Saskatchewan wins in Ottawa. I couldn't believe it. 2-2.
All right, you'll do better this week. Let's start with our game here tonight. 2 rookie quarterbacks, or 2 very inexperienced quarterbacks, I should say, to set up Calgary and Toronto.
Well, you know, look at the top. Give the rushing to that big offensive line of the Argonauts. Passing's got to be even. Renfro and Warman, I call them even. Front 7, Toronto. Secondary to Calgary because anybody can throw against the Argonauts. Special teams to the Big Hank and Lance Chummock. They get the nod. Toronto over Calgary tonight.
All right, in the Friday night game, the Edmonton Eskimos in Winnipeg, where the Blue Bombers are always tough.
I'll tell you, this is the easiest one I had to pick. I give all check marks to the Bombers. They're still my pick to take it all this year. Nothing's changed. Winnipeg in a walk.
Saturday, it'll be the Ottawa Rough Riders against the unbeaten British Columbia Lions. That game in British Columbia, and it seems to me that the Ottawa Rough Riders might be in a little bit tough.
Oh, they are. I mean, to travel all the way out to BC Place, it's a tough place to play. The Lions are undefeated. They look awesome. The only check mark that I can possibly give to Ottawa is to Dean Dorsey, because he's 15 for 15, actually 20 for 20 if you count last year. He's had a super year, but there's not a chance they can beat the Lions at home.
And the BC Lions favored heavily in that one by Leif Pedersen and just about everyone else. The final game of Week 5 will be Hamilton at Saskatchewan. The Rough Riders coming off a big win over the Ottawa Rough Riders last week. And the question is, can those guys pull off another one?
Well, Hamilton's been killing me all year. There are a couple of losses for me when I picked them, but I've still got to hang with them. The Grey Cup champions, they've got some good people, and even though they're playing away in Saskatchewan, which Taylor Field can be a little intimidating, I think Hamilton's still going to come out on top.
Well, the Tiger Cats, after the loss to the Argonauts last week, will undoubtedly be a little bit snarly as they go into Taylor Field in Regina. There's no question about that. Week 5 in Canadian football begins tonight right here at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto with the Argonauts and the Calgary Stampeders. A critical game for the Stampeders, a crucial game for the Toronto Argonauts, and the kickoff coming up moments from now. Right now, we'll send you back to Jim Van Horn, TSN Control.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. As you mentioned, we're just a couple of minutes away from the kickoff of tonight's game. We have our regular halftime features coming up and something special tonight. We're going to try it out, see how it works. Head coach Al Bruno of the Hamilton Tiger Cats is going to join us here at our TSN Control Center in Toronto, and he is going to answer questions from the fans who are at the football game at Exhibition Stadium watching the Toronto Argonauts and the Calgary Stampeders. It's never been tried before. We're going to try it, see how it goes, and it should be quite interesting because Al is a very gregarious kind of individual, and he's going to have some fun with that tonight. tonight. Also, we'll have our regular feature First and 10 with John Bonk, former All-Star with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Tonight, he takes a look at the specialty teams. He's going to lay it out for you in plain English for the uninitiated football fans and try to lay it on the line for you. That's all coming up on halftime of tonight's football game between the Toronto Argonauts and the Calgary Stampeders. And we'll be taking you back to Exhibition Stadium very, very shortly. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Breweries.